Patriots and comrades, this is General Miguna from exile. It is now extremely clear that the BBI handshake was not meant to unite Kenya. It was not meant to bring reconciliation and inclusivity. It was not meant to deal with corruption. It was not meant to transform Kenya. It was meant to rebrand Uhuru Muigai Meta Kenyatta, the despot, so that he can cling to power either directly or using proxies such as his brother Muhoho. Raila Odinga, the joyrider, the coward, the conman, is nothing but a facilitator, a convenient ploy. This document that I have called on Kenyans to burn as a way of demonstrating our defiance, our resistance, our refusal to be cowed by choreographed ploys and PR stunts, has not presented a parliamentary system. In fact, what they have is a cut and paste of the Yoweri Museveni Uganda Constitution. The so-called Prime Minister is just Fred Matiang'i dressed up in a colonial kaboot, or Simeon Nyachai, Fred Matiang'i's father, dressed up in a colonial kaboot with gumboots and with a European name. There is nothing to it. In fact, Simeon Nyachai had more power than what is being proposed as the Prime Minister in this document. In the document that despot Uhuru Kenyatta and conman Raila Odinga unveiled at the Bomas of Kenya, the Prime Minister is appointed by a monarch, an imperial monarch called President, and fired. All cabinet ministers are appointed from Parliament and fired by the President. Now, you would have to ask, where is the parliamentary system? Because in a true, genuine parliamentary system, the Prime Minister is the leader of the political party that gets majority votes in Parliament. That is why the Prime Minister would be the head of government and would be able to execute the functions of that government through Parliament. A parliamentary system does not have a president with any power. A parliamentary system has a ceremonial president, often appointed by a king or queen, or appointed by the Prime Minister. The ceremonial president is just there to preside over ceremonial ceremonies, really an office which is used only in kingdoms and monarchies to fleece the citizens. There is no use for it. So they say they wanted to transform Kenya through a parliamentary system. They have not brought a parliamentary system. They have brought a monarch called the president. They also said they want to remove winners take all, that whoever wins an election takes all. In this mongrel they have presented, the winner takes everything, including the kitchen sink. The so-called president is supposed to win 50% plus one votes. And of course, they don't intend that that person will win through a credible election. Their intention is that they will steal that election. And once that person has imposed himself, often him, in power through a fraudulent election, that person can appoint and fire everyone. That person is the head of all institutions, including Parliament. There is no checks and balance. The judiciary is not independent. Court orders are not obeyed. The Constitution is subservient to the President. So they have imposed someone who is above the law. They have created a monarchy through an illegal document that was not brought into being legally, procedurally, through Parliament, that was done whimsically at Harambee House through selfish connivance of two individuals. Now, obviously, there are a lot of hypnotized zombies that have been shouting and yelling and cheering and celebrating nothing. The same zombies, or amalgams of them, did the same thing in 1998 when Raila Odinga joined KANU. And Raila Odinga thought that Moi was going to make him president, and these zombies thought that they were going to gain something through that fraudulent exercise. It failed. Raila Odinga did the same thing in 2002 through Mwai Kibaki. That came to a halt because such selfish, cowardly connivance cannot succeed. In 2008, it was the same thing. Jomo Kenyatta, Uhuru's father, the despot, the thief, the tyrant, the tribalist, the killer, did the same thing in 1966 at the Limuru Conference when he destroyed KANU. Moi did the same thing after 1982 failed coup that was associated with Raila Odinga, when tens of thousands of innocent Kenyans were mowed down by Moi. Moi created a de jure one-party state and turned Kenya into one big chorus. Nyayo Juu, Nyayo Juu, Nyayo Juu. People sang as if they had no brains. The same thing that Uhuru is trying to do with Raila Odinga, singing about BBI as if BBI is going to solve any problem. As it is a lamentation. A document that I could have drafted in 1 hour has cost Kenyans 11 billion plus, and they are still intending to continue looting public resources to facilitate this fraud. This is not a document worth the paper that it is actually printed on. And they are intending to use billions, printing copies, distributing all over the country. The document is useless. They say they are going to come up with mechanisms of punishing corruption. It isn't there. Corruption ends, which is theft of public resources, only ends and is prevented by arresting people who have stolen public resources, trying them, convicting them, sentencing them to very long jail terms, seizing or taking, repossessing everything that they have stolen and reverting it back to the people. That is what stops theft, because that example will be there to everyone to see, for everyone to see. And that will have a deterrence effect. That will stop corruption. That's the only thing that stops corruption. The mambo jumbo in their document, in their fraud, won't help. They have abandoned the 2030, so-called Vision 2030, and now they are proposing something called a 50-year plan. Every time they are supposed to implement what they promised, they bring up a new one. Kenyans want universal health care, compulsory universal health care for everyone, particularly the 56%, no, not 56%, more than 75% of the poor Kenyans, the Kenya that lives in slums, the unemployed. They're not talking about that. They're talking about something, about a health policy. Policies do not implement health care. Kenyans want health care. They want medicine. They want hospitals. They want doctors. They want nurses. They want technologists. That's what Kenyans want. They want concrete things, not abstractions, not abstracts. They have said that they will come up with some office that will rewrite Kenya's history, We know our history. We don't want anybody to rewrite it. And we are certainly not going to allow despots to try to vanish the history of dictators like themselves. History will be written by historians, by Kenyans who can write, by Kenyans who have a memory. History will not be contrived and written from State House. So we are saying no. They want some kind of implementation or something called a rapporteur. Again, just a job for Adams Okindo Law, Raila's cousin, or some other people like Amos Wako. We don't want that. Kenyans want the millions of youth, the 65% or more unemployed youth, to be employed, to get gainful employment, to be able to contribute to national economy and growth and prosperity. Kenyans do not want yet another fraud, just like the agenda, so-called Agenda 4, that was never anything, that was abandoned as soon as it was uttered. Not another gravy train called the SGR, or the laptop for children, or any such phony and fake promises. Kenyans are tired of promises, empty, fraudulent promises. The BBI handcheck has turned out to be just another choreographed mechanism to whip up Kenyans' emotions, hypnotize them, and channel them to something, some political construct that they will rename, maybe BBI party or something, that then Uhuru Kenyatta and his conman Raila Odinga can use to further impoverish Kenyans. And as I have said before, we must reject this BBI handshake. We must reject this cynical or choreographed PR stance. We must reject these frauds. Ban BBI handshake report. Pile them up on the streets and ban them. Cook with them. Ban them in your homes. Ban them in your offices. Ban them wherever you are, in villages and towns and cities. Ban the BBI report. Demonstrate that you're not empty, that you're not a coward, that you're not stupid, that you have not forgotten, that you will remember what these people have done. There is nothing concrete on how they are going to stop electoral fraud. And there is no word, no sentence about electoral justice. Nothing about social justice. Nothing about restructuring the fraudulent system that we have in Kenya. Nothing transformative. What they have is a manipulative document, a very short, poorly written, disorganized, and incomprehensible document that they want to wave in front of Kenyans, hoping that Kenyans don't read it. Well, it is not worth $100. It is not worth the paper it is written on. It was not worth the time they wasted on it, or the 11 billion they have wasted on it. And there is absolutely no way that Kenyans should allow these people to continue looting more billions instead of building hospitals and schools and factories and creating jobs. We must resist Viva. In case you'd like to order my books, for those who are in the continent of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, you can go to www.nuria.co.ke. Nuria is Nuria. Nuria.co.ke. For those in North America, go to www.integritylimited.com. Integritylimited.com. Thank you very much for listening to me. Viva!